I am Anil Kumar sharing with you questions on polynomials. These questions have been taken from previous test papers and will help you to prepare for your own test or exam. So we'll basically consider division of polynomials with the help of these examples. There are 5 or 6 examples which I am taking in this video. First 2 are right there for you to start. So the very first question here is, the roots of quadratic equation x square plus x minus p times p plus 1 equals to 0, where p is a constant r, what of the following, right? So you're given 4 choices. Now, any quadratic equation could be written in the form of x squared minus sum of roots plus product of roots, where the coefficient here will be x and that is the constant equals to 0. Now if you compare what you notice here, that the sum is equal to minus of this is minus 1 and the product is equal to minus of p times p plus 1. Correct? So that is what your sum and product is. Now these are the options. Once you know this basic concept, then it is very easy to pick up the option. Otherwise, you'll get it wrong. Now in these two, what should I add to get minus 1? When I multiply, I'll definitely get minus 1, correct? So the only question here is, should I use minus p plus 1 or should I use p and minus of p plus 1? That is what I need to decide, correct? So if I add these two, I basically get plus 1. So when you add, see, that is the concept which you need to understand. When you add these two, you actually get plus 1. Do you see that? But when you add these two, p minus p is 0, but minus makes this plus 1 minus. So that should be the answer. Perfect. So therefore, the option which you have to go for is that this is the correct answer. P and minus p plus 1. So option C is the right option. So I hope you understand this concept. Very good question to begin with, right? It may be just 1 mark question, but it is very important. The question number 2 here is, if x plus a is a factor of 2x squared plus 2ax plus 5x plus 10, find the value of a. Now in such questions, if x plus a is a factor, then x equals to minus a. If I substitute, I should get all this as 0, right? So just calculate. Substitute x as minus a. So we get 2 times minus a whole square plus 2a times minus a plus 5 times minus a plus 10, and that should be equal to 0, right? So this gives you 2a square, that gives you minus 2a square, this is minus 5a plus 10 equals to 0. These cancel, so you have minus 5a plus 10 equals to 0. So a equals to 10 over 5. Correct? Take it on this side, divide by 5, so that gives you 2 as your answer. Correct? So the value of a should be 2. So the answer is that a equals to 2. Is that clear? So that is how we are going to answer these 2 questions. Now they may be 1 mark each, but they are very important, right? Now here are slightly bigger questions, right? So that means we'll take slightly more time than answering those ones. Give an example of polynomial f of x, g of x, q of x, and r of x satisfying this particular condition where the degree of remainder is 0. So r of x is the remainder. So basically what we are saying here is that this is kind of like this. So this particular function which you are multiplying is equal to quotient times the divisor plus the remainder. You get the idea, right? So basically we have a function here which you are dividing by by g of x, I should write, g divisor, and here you get quotient, and whatever you get here is the remainder. Perfect. Then you could write that this function is equal to product of these two. Let's be very clear about it. Okay. So that is your divisor. This is your quotient. And this is your remainder. Now it says where the degree of remainder is 0. What does that mean? Now when we say degree of remainder is 0, that means when we say degree of remainder is 0, it means what? It implies that it is a constant. You get the idea. So it is a constant. Perfect. So that is how you have to treat this. Correct? So what could you have? For example, you could have something like this. Just take some number like x plus 1 times, we can take x minus 1. We can just multiply. I want to write 1. Okay. It's easy, right? Plus, let's say 5 here, right? So we have these two here, x plus 1 times x minus 1. So when you multiply, you get x square minus 1, correct? Plus 5, and that is equal to x square plus 4, correct? So you get something here. So now what you could write here is that the function f of x is equal to x square plus 4, right? That is your function, right? And what do you have for g of x? G of x is the one by which you are dividing, so let it be equal to x minus 1, right? And what is q of x? The quotient. Q of x, the quotient, if you divide by x minus 1, is equal to x plus 1, and the remainder, r of x, in this case, is going to be 5. You get the idea. So that is how you could answer this particular question. Is that okay? So we could write this as x square plus 4 is equal to x plus 1 times x minus 1 plus 5, correct? Where this becomes your f of x, this is your g of x, that is q of x, and this is r of x. So that could be one possible. This is a communication question where you could have many answers. So I hope that part is absolutely clear. Now let's take the next question. The question here is, write the quotient and remainder when the polynomial is divided by this, right? So basically in this case we need to do the long division, right? So we are given the function and we have to divide. So let's do the division. We have 3x to the power of 4 plus 5x cubed minus 7x squared plus 2x plus 2. We have to divide by x squared plus 3x plus 1, right? So it's a simple division. X to the power of 4 means x squared 3 times. We are taking 3 terms, so we'll multiply and put our quotient there. So we get 3x to the power of 4 plus 9x cubed plus 3x squared, right? Now when you take away, what do you get? When you take away, you get minus 4x cubed minus 10x squared plus 2x. Bring down the next term. And so now we'll have minus 4x here, giving us minus 4x cubed minus 12x squared minus 4x. And now when you take away, you have to bring down the constant 2, right? So you get here 2x squared and plus 6x plus 2. So 2 times, right? So plus 2. So we get 2x squared plus 6x plus 2, right? So in this case, it is a factor. So the remainder is 0. So now the question is, write the quotient and the remainder when this is so. So the quotient is 3x square minus 4x plus 2, and the remainder is 0, right? So that means that x square plus 3x plus 1 is a factor of the quadratic equation given to you, right? Now here is another question. It says, if minus 1 and 2 are two zeros of the polynomial 2x cubed minus x squared minus 5x minus 2, find the third zero, right? You can actually pause the video, answer this question, and then look into my suggestions. Now what we are given here is that two zeros are, so we have zeros at x equals to minus 1 and x equals to 2, right? That means the factors are x plus 1 and x minus 2. So these are the factors, correct? So what we could do here is that we could just divide this by these two factors and get the third factor. So let me first multiply them, right? So multiply them. So what do you get here? When you multiply them, you get x squared minus 2x plus x minus 2, which is equal to x squared minus x minus 2. So we are going to divide the polynomial, which is 2x cubed minus x squared minus 5x minus 2 by x squared minus x minus 2, correct? So once we divide, we will actually get the third factor. So first is take it 2 times with x, so you get 2x cubed minus 2x squared minus 4x. And when you take away, what do you get? So when you take away, you get plus 2, so you get x squared, and that becomes minus x minus 2. So that is one time, right? So you do plus 1 and you get x squared minus x minus 2. Remainder is 0 as expected, and therefore the third factor is 2x minus 1. So the third 0 is, you have to equate this to 0 to get your 0, and that gives you that x equals to half, correct? So that is your third 0. So I hope that is absolutely clear. Perfect. So that is how you're going to solve this particular question. So I hope with this you get fairly good idea about how to solve equations involving polynomial divisions. And now we are going to take the last question, which is one of the most important questions, to end this video. And I hope you get good practice for your own exam with these questions. The question here is, if the polynomial 6x to the power of 4 plus 8x cubed minus 5x squared plus ax plus b is exactly divisible by 2x squared minus 5, find the value of a and b. Now, in this question, when we say exactly divisible by this, that means 2x squared minus 5 is a factor, correct? Or it means that if you solve it, 2x squared minus 5 is a factor really means that the x values for which you get the real roots will be equating this to 0, will give us 2x squared equals to 5, or x squared equals to 5 over 2, or x equals to square root of 5 over 2 plus and minus. So you get a 0 for these values. So one method is you can substitute this value of x in the equation. There are two values, so you get two equations, and you can solve for a and b, right? So what I say is sub x equals to plus minus square root 5 over 2 and solve for a and b. This is one method, correct? So this is one method which you could definitely adopt. However, in this exercise, I feel that solving in this way might take a lot of time, and since it is a radical, it will create problems in solving. It's not an easy equation to solve. So what should we do? We'll do long division. Right? So we'll divide the polynomial given to us by the given factor. So the polynomial given to us is 6x to the power of 4 plus 8x cubed minus 5x squared plus ax plus b. Right? We need to divide this by 2x squared minus 5x. You will notice that x term is missing, so we'll write a placeholder 0x here to divide. Now this placeholder is very important, right? So concentrate on this. We have introduced 0x just as a placeholder. It doesn't really change the divisor, right? Now let's divide. So 6x to the power of 4, that means we'll take this as 3x squared. Multiplying, we get 6x to the power of 4 plus 0x cubed minus, this becomes 15x squared, right? And now let's take the difference once again and then continue. So here we get 8x cubed and plus 10x squared plus ax, and 8x cubed means by 4x, correct? So multiplying by 4, we get 8x cubed plus 0x squared. So this is a placeholder. It doesn't really change, right? But 4 minus 5 times will be minus 20x. Now if you take away, what do you get? So here we get 10x squared, and here we get plus. So we have, I could write like this, within brackets I could write a plus 20x, correct? So when you take away, and now bring down plus b. So we have to get 10x squared, so now I'll multiply by 5, so we get 10x squared plus 0x, and 5 times 5 is 25, correct? So you get 25 here. Now again we'll just take the difference. So when you take this difference, then what you get really is this cancels, but you have here a plus 20x, and here you get plus b plus 25. Okay? So that's what you get. Now you say that the remainder should have been 0, right? So the remainder should have been 0 because it is a factor. Now since this remainder, which is a plus 20x plus b plus 25, should be equal to 0, it really means what? It means that a plus 20 should be 0, and this is also equal to 0, right? So that means that a plus 20 equals to 0, or a equals to minus 20, and here b plus 25 equals to 0, and that means b equals to minus 25, correct? So that is how you are going to solve this particular equation, correct? So we got two answers. Both values of a and b are negative in our case. So a is minus 20 and b is equal to minus 25. So this is a much simpler method. Do long division and equate the remainder to 0 to ensure that 2x squared minus 5 is a factor. Perfect. So I hope you understand these steps involved. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. Thanks for watching and all the best.